On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Speak English or Die by Stormtroopers of Death. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal. We like to talk about it. And today we're talking about the debut album from crossover thrash supergroup Stormtroopers of Death.
1985.
1985.
Yeah.
Stormtroopers of Death formed by two at the time current members of Anthrax.
Yeah,
and
but three original members of Anthrax.
One at that point former member of Anthrax. And then their buddy, who was the singer of a hardcore band.
Yeah, who also drove their bus sometimes.
Yes. This is a weird, has this, I think this album and Stormtroopers of Death in general has sort of like a weird place in the canon of like 80s metal going forward.
You're not wrong.
Mostly because it like intentionally puts itself in a weird place sort of lyrically where I think, we'll talk more about like content of this later. I don't think this is because everything is tongue in cheek. Everything is, you're not meant to take any of this seriously. None of the members of the band actually believe that if you don't speak English, you should die.
No.
None, like it's
a lot of time. They also don't believe you should kill yourself.
Yes. The thing about this album, though, is that I don't believe you could really make this today because people don't make albums like this today because they'd be worried no one would get the joke.
Right.
And too many shitheads would unironically like it and think they were being serious. Where back in the 80s, I think irony wasn't dead yet at the time. And you could make something like this and people would kind of get you weren't being serious.
Actually, the early 80s were kind of a birth of a swell of irony.
We not too long ago we had Dead Kennedys and
sure.
Most of their stuff's not particularly ironic, but they're also not saying kind of awful things.
Right.
When they're saying things that, I can agree with that. Just they're saying it in an unpleasant way.
Yeah, Jello Biafra would never struggle with wanting to fuck a woman while he's drunk.
Yeah. That wasn't a problem for him.
Yeah.
He was never too drunk to fuck. That was never a problem for Jello. Just referring to a man as just Jello.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Do you think his friends call him Jello?
No, I don't. What's his actual given name?
I actually don't remember it off the top of my head.
I feel like I can't believe that his friends call him Jello. No. I don't believe that for a second. How are you this day? By the way, we usually have some banter with each other. It's been a week for you.
It has been a week. It's been a crazy week. I crashed my car last Friday.
Yeah.
So I'm driving south there on Broadway, the main artery through our town. And I'm just tooling along, going to work. And someone in the left lane, in the left southbound lane, decides that they're going to make a right turn into a gas station in front of me.
Yes.
So then I slammed on the brakes and cranked the wheel so as not to kill this person.
Yes.
In their piece of shit car.
Yes.
I bounced off of it a little bit, but more to the point, I skidded forward and then landed under a truck. Basically,
yes.
And my car is totaled. I just got the car in May.
Yeah, and it's a nice car, too.
It was a great car. I loved the car. It was clean and well put together.
It's a good car.
It was a great car. I loved it. Now it's gone forever.
It's gone forever.
So now I'm driving the company Jeep with the stickers all over it.
See, that thing is... I think it's fun to drive. But it's fun to drive in the same way that it's kind of fun. It's fun to go whitewater rafting.
Right. I don't want to whitewater raft to work every fucking morning.
Exactly. It's fun because, ooh, this is kind of dangerous, isn't it? It's bouncy and the accelerator's wonky. The brakes aren't great.
No. The electrical system is just about shot.
It reminds me of driving my dad's old truck that he only got rid of a couple years ago. He had a Ford F-250 that I think it was like a 96 F-250. He bought it used already, but he bought it in like 1999 or something. Really? I can't remember when he bought it, but he had it for the longest time. And that thing was kind of a terror for me personally to drive. And I had to drive it for about 2 months because my car was destroyed.
Right.
And that was an experience. Certainly the front wheels were at a decent angle towards each other. They, if you drew lines between their tops and bottoms, they would have made a trapezoid.
Sure.
Not a steeply angled trapezoid, but a trapezoid nonetheless. It was not rectangular.
So I have the snowplow action kind of going.
Yeah, a little bit. And the engine was incredibly loud, not necessarily because you could essentially hear the horsepower escaping that engine. Whenever you revved it and hit the accelerator, it was like clickety clackety, sort of like it. If you removed the parts that made you go, "Oh, that's not healthy," then it would have sounded pretty intimidating. But there was bits on that where it's like, "Oh, no, that doesn't sound good at all." But it ran, and to my knowledge, it never broke down on my dad. As far as I know, I think some years he maybe struggled to get it back into fighting shape after a winter of sitting in the yard not being used. But
so it sounded like Speed Buggy then.
Probably. I'm not sure what Speed Buggy sounded like.
It was a Hanna-Barbera cartoone.
Was it like Speed Racer but with a buggy?
The buggy talked itself.
Oh, the buggy. Oh, I think I know this character.
Yeah, and it sounded
Not quite
like that.
As disgusting as that, but I think
gross.
I understand what you're getting at.
Yeah.
And it's probably appropriate. Yeah, it was an experience to drive that thing, and the Jeep reminds me of it a lot. Mm-hmm. Mildly fond memories, I guess, of driving that thing on occasion. My dad's new truck is much nicer.
Nice.
So much nicer. But yeah,
there you go.
We had a big D&D session on Sunday that I was not quite intending to be, I guess, so dire for a couple of you. Yeah. You and the other fighter ended up pretty all right.
Fine. Yeah.
You were basically fine. Your characters are built for that sort of thing.
But we were trapped.
Yeah, I had you guys trapped and separated. Essentially, this is probably like the most devious dungeon that I've made, in the sense that like there was a lot of different ways for me to fuck with you guys. And I was loosely inspired by a story I've told you about, which is Tucker's Kobolds.
Yes.
Which that is just an experiment in complete malice. That's is what that is.
That's a TPK every time.
My idea basically was those like, okay, you guys have fought kobolds out in the open. That's not where that's not what they're best at. Kobolds are best at running and hiding and setting up traps and shooting at people from being hidden and doing that sort of thing. And you guys entered into their fortress. It was their neck of the woods that they knew. So they were going to set up kill zones and they were going to, shoot at you guys from murder holes. And they had, hidden traps set up and that sort of thing. Because that's really where they shine. That's really the flavor of their race. It's the thing that separates them from goblins. Because otherwise it's like, why would you could just have goblins there? Right. Other than like, oh, you're little dragon dudes that are dragon minions. They used to be little dog people.
Right. When I started playing, they used to be dog people.
And I think the reason that Wizards of the Coast went, okay, these are dragon people, is because they just used to be hairy goblins. They were just goblins. They were just, you could think of them as very small bugbears, because a bugbear is just a big hairy goblin.
Right.
That's what they are. So it's like, I think they wanted to make kobolds unique in the monster manual instead of just saying, okay, and here's another flavor of goblin.
In fact, I think it was the first thing I ever fought was a couple of kobolds and then a bugbear. Which
is because now it's like those two wouldn't be ganging up together.
No, yeah.
As of, Wizards of the Coast. Well, it's not entirely unreasonable for them to be ganging up together. Mm-hmm. There's a adventure module for 3.5 that I have that's called Red Hand of Doom, where there's a hobgoblin warlord who is a half dragon.
Wow.
And he is like a worshiper of Tiamat, and he's basically like, he's converted his army to worship Tiamat as well, and he's leading them to destroy like these different cities. And so there's like dragons that you have to fight. There's what are called Abishai, which are devils that serve Tiamat, because in D&D lore, Tiamat is usually in the 9 hells.
Right. He's a badass.
She.
Tiamat's female?
Tiamat's female. Always has been. She's got 5 heads.
I know why I think of Tiamat as being a dude, because the band
there's a band called Tiamat.
Yeah.
No, Tiamat is usually found in the 9 hells. So she has devils that look like dragons. Essentially, they're like these draconic devils called Abishai that show up in that campaign as well. I don't know if kobolds. Abishai. I don't know if kobolds show up in there at all. It would make sense if they did, but I'm not sure if they do. At the end of that, you fight like a leveled down like aspect of Tiamat after you defeat the hobgoblin warlord, who is supposed to be a pretty nasty boss in his own right. But I
mean, knobgoblins are usually more dangerous than regular goblins.
Knobgoblins?
Right? What?
Yeah, knobgoblins. Knobgobblers. Don't type that into Google.
No, don't. Or do, because it could be a good time.
Whatever you want, just be aware. But hobgoblins, yes, are usually somewhat more dangerous than regular goblins. Hobgoblins are just like, they're basically just dudes. Like they're human sized. They have, they're
regular
just
intelligence.
They're just kind of, goblins have regular intelligence too. They're just like little ADHD monsters, basically.
Yeah, they're crazy. So there's a problem. Yeah.
But hobgoblins are basically, take the Roman legion and make that an entire race's whole thing.
Sure.
And you've got hobgoblins, which I think they're neat. They're cool.
Sure.
I just think they're neat. It's my best Marge Simpson impression.
Today, by the way, this is gonna sound silly, and this might lose me some credibility.
OJ, I don't think you had any credibility.
Thank you, Kale.
You're welcome.
This used to be what Big Mike and I would call the Aracalypse.
The Aracalypse, okay.
We would celebrate every 13th of October.
Okay.
And we'd listen to the music of a Finnish rock band.
Okay.
That won Eurovision one year.
All right.
Called Lordi. Have you ever heard of Lordi?
Yes, I have heard of Lordi.
Yeah. It's like if Guar and Kiss had a baby for sale at Dollar General. I mean,
yeah. I've heard Lordi. I think I heard Lordi before in the context of them being the only metal band that's ever gone to Eurovision.
Much less fucking won
Much less won anything at Eurovision.
They got some catchy tunes.
Yeah. Only Finland would send a fucking metal band to Eurovision.
All in costumes.
Only Finland. I guess maybe Norway would too, but it's
sure.
I don't know if Norway takes part in Eurovision, because isn't Eurovision typically mostly the EU? And then Australia technically gets in there somehow. On a technicality, I guess.
Is Finland part of the EU?
I'm pretty sure they are.
But Norway and
Norway
Sweden
is not. Sweden is. Norway is independent because they got oil monies.
Yeah, we don't need y'all.
Yeah.
I don't know why they sound like this.
Yeah. Because I believe it was right around the time that the European Union was forming was when Norway was having its oil boom, essentially. And Norway was like, no, we're good on our own.
Yeah.
Thanks, though. But
hey, call us sometime.
Yeah, maybe, maybe things will change, but we'll see. We're good for now. Yeah, what's the currency in Norway called? Is it kroner?
Or is that?
I think I feel like it's kroner. Anyway, it's like boner, but with a KR.
I got a raging kroner.
Got a handful of kroner right now.
I like to put lime in mine.
Oh, God. That one's a stretch.
You're welcome.
You heard about the kroner virus?
Yeah, Krona.
Krona or kroner?
Krone. Krona.
Oh, okay. Krona. All right. I was pretty close.
Yeah.
I'm surprised by myself. So let's talk about S.O.D. Stormtroopers of Death, as they're sometimes known, if you don't want to abbreviate it.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, they're made up of 3 people who were or had been in Anthrax different points. Most notably, of course, you have Scott Ian on the lead guitar for S.O.D.
All the
It's
guitar.
just all the guitar. There's only
guitar.
one. It's just one guitarist.
Yeah.
It's just him. And then I can't remember off the top of my head the 2 other Anthrax members.
Charlie Benante on drums.
Yes, that's correct.
And Dan Lilker on the bass.
And Dan Lilker at the time was not in Anthrax.
No, he was in Nuclear Assault.
That's right.
At that point. Yeah.
Yes. But and then they got their friend. What was the vocalist's name?
Billy Milano.
Billy Milano. That's right, because it's the Milano Mosh.
Yeah.
Yes. Billy Milano, who now like I saw a picture of him on Wikipedia. He looks like the sort of guy you would cast to play like a crazy homeless dude in a movie, but like not like a skinny methy homeless dude, like a kind of a chunky crazy homeless dude. Just got like a big beard and crazy hair, which didn't surprise me. It didn't upset my mental image of him that I had while listening to this. So what was your familiarity with Stormtroopers of Death?
I was given a cassette copy of this in the late 1980s when I was living in the Philippines. And I loved it. I thought this is fun, like metal music. These guys don't take themselves seriously. This is a good time.
And it's true. They don't take themselves seriously. I think some people thought they were taking themselves seriously, and Scott Ian has at different points very emphatically said, no, we're not racists. This is a joke. This is tongue in cheek.
Right.
We're making it was the lyrics were essentially, and the idea for the band was based on a character that Scott Ian kept on drawing called Sergeant D.
Yeah.
And I guess it's sort of, it reminds me in a weird way. Do you know about Filthy Frank?
Filthy Frank. It sounds familiar. Where's that from?
So it was a YouTube channel for a while. There is a like a pop or like a dream pop or like rap artist, I guess. He makes sort of like really sort of dreamy, spacey stuff. Who goes by Joji. His name is George Miller.
Sure.
He's like he had a fairly successful career over the last couple of years, but he started out, he was the originator of the Harlem Shake dance craze. But he had a couple of characters. One, there was Pink Guy, was him wearing a pink morph suit and like terrorizing people. And then there was Filthy Frank, who was a character he designed to be like the worst person you've ever met. Who was like this like middle-aged man who he talked like this and was just like awful. And basically Filthy Frank was just Joji going like, I want to make a series sort of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Right, because that's what I was thinking, Frank.
It's like, let's make a series about the worst people you've ever met.
Sure.
And just, have that be an outlet for negative energy, is just throwing it all into these fictional characters. But it's like that sort of thing where, you just create this character and you go like, what would that person say? What sort of songs would Sergeant D write?
Right.
What kind of person am I imagining this character to be in my head? Let's make songs. And they had recorded, this album was in the immediate aftermath of them recording Spreading the Disease. And they had like extra time, or studio time or whatever. And they like threw all this together in like 3 weeks. the whole album came
22
together.
songs.
22 songs, many of them shorter than 2 minutes.
And by the way,
some of them shorter than 10 seconds. Yeah. This is basic. Some of this is basically grindcore, and grindcore wasn't really a thing in 1985.
Not really.
Sort of a thing.
I mean, Napalm Death was around.
Napalm Death was. I think Napalm Death was really more of a punk band at the time. I don't know when Scum came out, because Scum is really like the origin of like the grindcore,
right?
As we think of it. And I don't know when Scum came out.
It was in the 80s. I know.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. 1987.
Okay,
so
yes.
2 years after this.
Right.
But like this is, you have a couple 15-second songs that is just, completely blasting through the vocals. And you have a song with very prominent blast beats in it, which was not a thing for metal in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have pointed to the song Milk on this album as being one of the probably the first metal song to use blast beats. Although the drummer had said that was a thing that he had heard like hardcore bands do for a long time.
Sure.
But this was basically the album that sort of kind of brought it to people's attention, that style of drum playing, and going like, oh, that sounds pretty gnarly. We should do that. Might have been the genesis of that, and now blast beats are a ubiquitous part of death metal and grindcore and deathcore and extreme metal in general is riddled with blast beats. They're everywhere.
I wish I had some goddamn milk.
What is that? That song is it? I'm trying to figure out. Is he like pretending to be like a child or something? Is that what that is?
Maybe he's pretending to be a child, but maybe pretending to be a man-child.
A man-child that wants some milk, something like that. What was that? There's another song that reminds me of now. Was that on the? It was on the there's a weird linkage here. It was on the Faith No More album we listened to.
The Edge of the World.
I think so, where he's being like a man child.
Oh no, yeah.
And a weird link with Mike Patton is recently Mr. Bungle, which is Mike Patton's band. Like Faith No More was not Mike Patton's band. It was not. That was not his project.
No, he took over on their third album. Was there for like 3.
Yeah, and Mr. Bungle has been Mike Patton's thing from the beginning.
Yeah,
and they released a re-recording of their original like demos that they put out in the late 80s, which includes a cover of the title track of this album, Speak English or Die. But it's in Spanish, and he's saying speak Spanish or die, which is, I think, is great.
Yeah.
But it's just a weird link with Mike Patton. And Scott Ian is the guitarist on that record they released, on the re-recording of that demo. Scott Ian is the guitarist, because when you're Mike Patton, you get to work with anybody you want to, because you're Mike Patton.
Zombie Eaters is the name of that song.
Zombie Eaters is the song. I always forget
the name of the song.
Faith No More.
Yeah, because their song titles don't always.
Yeah, they don't correlate with the content of the song necessarily.
Yeah.
Do you think this slaps, this album? This Speak English or Die? Yes, it slaps.
Was this the one with Diamonds and Rust on it?
Yes.
Okay. The extended version.
Which is another, like the last couple of songs on this album are vying for the title of like shortest song in the world with You Suffer by Napalm Death. Like this album really kind of is the genesis of grindcore in a lot of ways. Like those last couple like 10 10-second songs. The last 3 tracks on this are like 2, 7, and 3 seconds.
Right. And they do on other albums ballads of other people, and it's the same lyrics every time. Yeah. Was it the Ballad of Jimi Hendrix on this one?
Oh, yeah.
Dun, 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 you're dead.
Yeah, the Ballad of Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. Oh, yeah. His ballad is He's Dead.
Yes.
But when...
Later on, they do the Ballad of Kurt Cobain. You're dead.
God.
Yeah.
I would say it's in poor taste, but it's S.O.D.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
They needed to be in poor taste.
Yeah. What's your or I was looking up scores. There was only 3 scores listed on the Wikipedia page for this album. It came out to 93%, which I don't know if I had gone looking a little bit more. And since this is an old album, it might be a bit hard to find too many retrospective reviews that also give it some sort of quantitative rating. It tends to be a little bit difficult for older albums, but I feel like maybe it'd be a bit lower, not terribly lower, but I also feel like any publication that would be doing a retroactive review of this album is not going to have their 22-year-old freelance writer be doing that review. They're going to be getting someone that's your age.
Right, sure.
So like, hey, did you like Stormtroopers of Death back in the day? Yeah, I did. Well, why don't you do this and write an article and have it be a thing? All right, cool.
I don't know who I'm doing this for, but
yeah.
Who is this for?
Who's the audience for that? Other people exactly like you. That's the audience for it. But it's hard to find. But yeah, it came out to 93, and I feel like it would. I don't think it would be too much lower than that, because the music here is fantastic.
The riffs are great. I mean, it's just such a dual thing in my brain when I listen to this. Especially now. Now that I'm realizing as an old man,
sort of
how fucking juvenile this is.
Juvenile, intentionally offensive lyrics.
Yeah.
That are also like, there are plenty of death metal albums that have kind of juvenile, intentionally offensive lyrics.
Right.
But you can't fucking understand them. So it's like so many different Cannibal Corpse albums. It's like those, you look up the lyrics and it makes you want to vomit.
Right.
But you can't ever understand them. So, whatever. I guess Corpse Grinder is a bit more intelligible than Chris Barnes was, but it's not that much more intelligible than Chris Barnes.
I mean, I like Chris Barnes now.
Said no one.
Said everybody who walks past his grave.
Chris Barnes isn't dead.
Chris Barnes is dead, isn't he?
You're thinking of Seth Putnam.
Oh, I am thinking of Seth Putnam.
Who hated Chris Barnes.
That's right.
Famously despised Chris Barnes and wrote a song called Chris Barnes is a Pussy.
and then who was it was it you personally, or was it just something you read who said, I don't often agree with Seth Putnam?
It was something I had read. I think it was a YouTube comment on that song. Or no. It was something shitty Chris Barnes had did. He like kicked people out of a 6 Feet Under concert or some shit, like for a really dumb reason. And I think it was a Reddit comment, someone saying like, I don't often agree with Seth Putnam, but on this, I think he was correct. I'm pretty sure that's the context. I don't remember what Chris Barnes did, but people were pissed off at him because he's an asshole. But yeah, it's like I don't often find reason to agree with anything Seth Putnam's ever said, because good God, that man was wild. And said some crazy, awful things over. Look, when you're in a band called Anal Cunt,
odds are,
maybe you have some weird opinions about things. What's your favorite song on this record?
I don't. The one that sticks out for me is Sergeant D is the song.
Sergeant D, or the is it March of the? I think it might have had a different title while I was listening to it on Spotify.
Oh, no, it's maybe. No, what am I opening up here? What am I looking at?
Because I also had the 30th anniversary edition, which includes live versions of like every single one.
Right.
Is it March of the Stormtroopers of Death? Because on the live versions, it's March of the S.O.D. / Sergeant D.
Right. In original form, it's March of S.O.D. and then the second track is Sergeant D.
Okay, that's what I have. Yeah. I think they just kind of blended together as I was listening.
Well, sure, yeah.
But
they do anyway. They overlap.
Yeah. I know March of the S.O.D. was used as the theme music to Headbangers Ball
yeah,
for a very long time. And then what's the other one? Chromatic Death Is that
Chromatic Death.
Chromatic Death was also used as like a buffer or a bumper song.
Yeah.
Between segments on Headbangers Ball. But my favorite song I put down as Freddy Krueger. I had trouble kind of choosing like a truly favorite song that I definitely like this one more than the other ones. Like it's all kind of the same to me on this album. I could sort of take any of the songs or leave them. Like it's, not that I think any of them are particularly bad necessarily, but it's just like I couldn't pick one that I liked more than the other ones. But I found myself enjoying Freddy Krueger a fair amount.
And Milk is great.
The song Milk that has the blast beats in it.
My Cheerios just ain't the same.
My Cheerios just ain't the same. That line caught my attention because I am a habitual, lifelong Cheerios eater, which is like, I guess I'm
milk on them, right?
Yes, I put milk on them. I'm not a toddler.
Do you put a little bit of sugar on them?
No, I don't.
A little cinnamon?
Just plain.
I
don't like sugary cereal at all.
I'm just saying lightly dusting of sugar.
Still. It makes the milk taste gross. Not that I even drink the milk anymore.
You don't drink the milk?
I think I have like, I don't know what it is. I buy like lactose free milk.
Really?
Where it's because
you're developing a little bit of a problem.
I'm losing my lactose tolerance. But like, even when I get, I don't know if it's something else. Maybe I'm not even losing my lactose tolerance. Maybe it's something else. But even when I get like lactose free milk, I end up with horrible gas by the afternoon.
And that's only going to get worse as you get older, no matter what you do.
Yeah, that just might be me being a not particularly healthy 25-year-old, but I don't know. In any case, I've taken the habit of dumping out the extra, which I feel bad about, but I'm the one paying for it. So,
and bear in mind, your bones aren't getting any stronger.
Yeah, well, I'm consuming some of the milk with the Cheerios.
A man of your age should really be watching out.
Yeah, I'm gonna develop osteoporosis, and that's all gonna be over. I'm gonna trip one day, and all of my bones will shatter.
Indeed,
I was born with glass bones and paper skin. That episode of SpongeBob. Anyway, what medal are you bestowing? What medal are you bestowing upon this, like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca?
I think it's too important not to give it a gold. Even if it's not a high gold, it's lower gold, but it's still a gold for me.
For me, I'm giving it a silver. Just because I don't really have an urge to listen through this again.
Sure,
but I'm glad I did. I didn't waste my time with this. I'm glad that I have had this experience and I'm familiar now with S.O.D. I think that's a part of being a cultured metalhead, is at least being willing to give things a try, even if you find out that maybe it's not necessarily your thing.
And Billy continued sort of with this type of music after
there's M.O.D.
There's M.O.D. Method of Destruction, right? USA for M.O.D. was a big one. That one is a little more
sincere.
I was gonna say more racist and
so maybe Billy maybe Billy was a bit too into it. Perhaps, who knows?
Yeah, he had a song about fat chicks. I mean, on there or something like that. Bubble Butt is the name of the song.
Maybe the guy just enjoys being offensive.
I think he does. I think he's just.
Maybe he's not genuinely a piece of shit. He just, gets his kicks off of pissing people off.
Yeah, that might be it.
Which is its own brand of being a piece of shit, but it's a
lesser brand.
It's a slightly lighter shade of gray. It's a slightly less stinky shade of asshole. Shades of asshole. And now an excerpt from Shades of Asshole by Cale Borner. I couldn't think of anything
to read.
Excerpt, but
by the way, I would love to do that. I mean, to actually somehow get into reading books on tape.
To do an audiobook.
To do an audiobook. Yeah, I would love that.
I'd love to do that as well. I think it'd be fun.
Do voices that just don't fit the character at
all. You could do it like that when Nathan Explosion did an audiobook, and by a couple hours in, he had completely lost his voice. Because Nathan's speaking voice is a death growl.
Yeah, it is.
I miss Metalocalypse so much.
That would be hilarious if there was a death metal reading of an audiobook. That would be great.
Like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's
just like the
Corpse Grinder reading Lord of the Rings.
But the thing is just doing his death growl.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Because it's like, even if it was just George doing with his regular voice, George Fisher's regular voice his speaking voice is kind of shot at this point.
Well, sure.
It's not that bad, but like he's got a fairly raspy speaking voice.
He's paid the price for
many years of brutality. His neck has paid the price as well. I mean, his Corpse Grinder's always had a giant neck, but like
it's really big now.
It's incredibly big now, and he's still like. I assume he doesn't. There's no medical issues with him doing his insane windmilling.
Right.
That he like every time I see him doing that, I'm like, that cannot be good for you.
I mean, he's over 50.
It's like that cannot be good for your neck. But I don't know if he is over 50. I mean, he's probably in his mid to late 40s. I don't think his kids are particularly old. Not that you can't have kids later in life, but. I don't know how old George Fisher is. George Fisher.
He is 51.
Oh, he is over 50. Okay.
Yeah.
And still going strong with Cannibal Corpse. That's not what we're going to be doing next week, though. Next week, I figured, why not listen to something that makes you want to destroy everything in your immediate vicinity?
And I'll bring my calculator.
Yes, we'll be talking about Dillinger Escape Plan's final album, Dissociation, which maybe we have, maybe I have done on this show way back when with Jaron in the first 20 episodes or whatever, because that was around the time that this album came out. But it certainly hasn't been talked about since then, and certainly not with you. So I think it's a worthy discussion for us to have. I think it's a really great album. And it's also like, because they knew when they were going into making this album that this was going to be their last album. I think by the time they had finished it, they knew it was going to be their last album. And there's some like mildly prophetic stuff on here, essentially very fitting for a band's last album, because I feel often, when bands make a last album, they don't generally know that it's going to be their last album. They tour, they maybe do, they tour in support of the album. Then maybe they do a couple more tours and they go, I think it's time to stop.
Yeah.
When this album came out, they went, we're going to go on tour in support of this album. And at the end of the tour, we're done. Which I think was a good way to go out. They went out on top. They went out while they still had the energy to be Dillinger.
Right.
Which requires a lot of energy. Because goddamn, their live shows were insane. But we'll talk more about Dillinger Escape Plan next week. Until then, find our social media pages on Facebook and on Twitter. We post episode links there. And if you want to listen in your browser, you can do that, clicking on those links. Otherwise, find us on your podcast app on your iOS device, or download Libsyn's The Podcast Source, which is their proprietary app if you have an Android device like I do.
Right.
And I think it works pretty well. It's a decent enough app. Go do that. What are you waiting for? Gosh. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Matters Podcast. I'm Ken.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.